Self-love isn't just about you caring for you. Self-love is also really the foundation for anything and everything that you want in your life. The life of your dreams starts with how you treat yourself. And in turn, that leads to how you relate with the people in your life, which leads to an extraordinary life. Hello and welcome to this episode of the Worthy Podcast. I'm Sandra Chuma, and today we're talking about a really important subject, one that perhaps many people don't realize just how important it is, and that's self-love. But I'm actually busting some myths. I'm busting 5 myths about self-love. And so I hope you'll stay with me to hear what those 5 key myths are, the things that people believe that aren't true, or things that people don't believe that actually are true. And so stick around and listen to what that is. But before we launch, I want to ask for you to do me a solid. If you enjoy listening to these podcast episodes, I really would be so grateful if you could leave a review on whatever platform it is that you're listening to this on. And I also would be really grateful if you could like and subscribe. And even more important as well is if you could share if there's somebody that you know who might benefit from listening to this particular episode, or in fact, any of my previous episodes, please share. And I really do think, as I said, that this episode is so important because self-love is something that most people don't realize is the key, is the foundation to them having anything and everything they want in their life. You know, the relationship that you want, the money that you want, the body that you want, all the things that we want, at their foundation, the core is it all stems from how do you feel about yourself? Do you love yourself? And what I want to share with you today are the 5 myths that I've heard about self-love. And so what is the very first myth that I've heard about self-love? Well, it is that self-love is selfish, it's self-centered. You know, it was one of the things that I grew up being told is that it's selfish, it's self-centered, it's egotistical to love yourself, that people who loved themselves were vain. But really, self-love is about you loving yourself enough to respect yourself, to respect your boundaries, to be in integrity with yourself, to recognize that loving yourself is the single most important relationship you will ever have. And that loving yourself is actually the key to you having great relationships with other people. And so self-love is about you recognizing your self-worth, you having high self-esteem, you being able to hold your boundaries, all of which is only selfish because other people want you to do what they want, which isn't that selfish when they want you to do what they want for them? And so self-love isn't selfish. It's about caring for yourself. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of loving yourself. Myth number 2 that I've heard about self-love is that self-love is easy, that it should feel good all the time, that self-love is all about unicorns and rainbows, love and light. But here's the reality. Self-love requires courage. It actually requires you sometimes to make hard decisions. It really requires you to be able to respect yourself and to respect your boundaries, which sometimes is uncomfortable, sometimes is challenging, especially if this is something that's new to you, where in the past people have been used to treating you a certain way and you suddenly decide that, you know what, that's not how I want to be treated. And so self-love can actually sometimes be challenging. It can be ending relationships that aren't working. It can be ending work environments or making different choices that sometimes require you to step into courage. And so self-love isn't about love and light, unicorns and rainbows, good vibes only. Self-love is about doing what is right for you, what is in integrity for you, what is in alignment with your values. And sometimes that can be challenging. You know, one of the most beautiful quotes that I know is from Maya Angelou, and she said that courage is the most important of the virtues because without courage, you cannot practice any of the other virtues. And I truly believe that courage is one of the most important aspects of self-love because it's what allows you to really step into what's important to you, respecting yourself, respecting your boundaries, being in integrity with yourself. So no, self-love isn't always cute, and self-love isn't just about self-care, which is important. Going to the spa, getting the manis and pedis and massages is important. But self-love is really about your internal state. How do you manage yourself internally? Do you stay in alignment with your values? Do you respect your boundaries? And sometimes that can be challenging. The third myth that I've heard about self-love is that you got to be perfect. You got to do it perfectly all of the time. You can't ever be angry. You can't ever have a down day. You can't ever feel bad. And that's not true. Self-love is actually allowing ourselves to feel all of the things, the full spectrum of emotions. That means feeling the emotions that don't feel so good, as well as the good emotions, the ones that feel light and the ones that we look forward to. It's part of your journey. It's part of you connecting with yourself. It's part of you knowing yourself, is knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect. Some days you will do better than other days. Some days you will love yourself. Some days you'll get to the end of the day and ask yourself, what the heck happened? But it's all good. It's all part of the journey. It's all part of you getting to know yourself and you getting to know what self-love means for you. Because that's the other important thing too about self-love is there is no one definition of what self-love is. Self-love is very much an individual journey. What self-love means to you isn't necessarily what self-love means to me. And so it's really about you in your journey, allowing yourself to be imperfect, knowing that some days are going to be better than others, knowing that you will, and I put this in air quotes, fail sometimes. But knowing that out of every failure, every time that you don't respect yourself, you don't honor your boundaries, you're not in self-integrity, it's an opportunity for you to learn and an opportunity for you to grow. So you don't need to be perfect and you don't need to do it perfectly for you to love yourself. The fourth myth that I've heard people talk about when it comes to self-love is that it's just about you loving you. And yes, that's why it's called self-love, because it's about you loving you. But here's what self-love actually does for you, is that when you love yourself, you are a mirror to other people. You are an inspiration to other people to love themselves. And when you love yourself, it allows you to show up in your relationships, whatever those relationships are, whether it's romantic relationships, whether it's relationships with family, whether it's relationships with your children. When you love yourself, you're able to show up fully as yourself, as the best version of yourself, even on those days when you're not perfect. But what it does is it sets the boundaries, it sets the tone for how you relate to other people. Because when you love yourself, then you're clear about who you are. You're clear about what your boundaries are. You're clear about what your values are. And as the saying goes, you teach people how to treat you. And so when you love yourself, you teach other people how they should treat you as well. So self-love is actually not just about you being an island and just you loving yourself. It's actually the foundation for you being able to have great relationships. Any relationship, whether that's romantic, work, with your kids, it's the foundation for you being able to show up in a way that allows you to have a great relationship with other people. So that's the fourth myth, is that self-love is just about you loving you. No, self-love is actually the template for you teaching other people how to love you. The fifth myth that I've heard about self-love is that self-love is a destination, that, once I've loved myself once, I'm good, that I read a book once or I took a course once. But here's the thing about self-love. Self-love is a commitment. Self-love is a daily practice. It is every day recommitting to loving yourself. Every day doing the things that show yourself that you love yourself, that you honor yourself, you honor your boundaries, you respect yourself, you know what your values are, and you live by those values. And so self-love isn't a destination. It's not somewhere you get to and then you're good. Self-love is something that literally you will be practicing till the day you die. It is something that is a daily practice, a daily recommitment. It's about you making a commitment to yourself. What does that look like for you to love yourself? And every single day, making that commitment all over again. It isn't a destination. It's kind of like working out. You can't say because you went to the gym once that you're good. You don't need to go for the rest of your life. You need to keep fit. You need to keep, and that's the same with self-love. It's like a muscle that you need to keep working. You need to continue. Whatever your self-love practice looks like, it is a daily practice that you come back to. And so those are 5 myths that I hope have helped you recognize how important self-love is, that self-love isn't just about you caring for you. Self-love is also really the foundation for anything and everything that you want in your life. The life of your dreams starts with how you treat yourself. And in turn, that leads to how you relate with the people in your life, which leads to an extraordinary life. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. And if you have anything that resonated with you, I'd love to hear it in the comments. What is it that you took away from today's episode? What was it that maybe was an aha, or maybe even just a reminder of the importance of self-love? And as always, I am so grateful to you for being here. I'm so grateful for you making me a part of your day. And as I remind you always, you are worthy. You are worthy to be. You are worthy to do. And you're worthy to have an extraordinary life. And you are worthy of loving yourself. I'm Sandra Chuma. Thanks so much for being here today. I'll see you next time.